The day I found out I was pregnant, I overheard my boyfriend's twin brother say, "Brother, I've been pretending to be you and messing with your girlfriend for so long. What if she finds out?" Jamie, my boyfriend, just laughed and replied, "She won't leave. It's not the first time we've switched." That afternoon, I booked a medical appointment and a one-way plane ticket scheduled for the same day as our wedding. If they planned to humiliate me in front of everyone, why shouldn't I escape first and turn their game into a joke? With 5 days left, I could now easily tell the twins apart. Jamie was cold, distant, always serious. Ernesto, the twin, was playful and had a small mole on his stomach. Jamie never let me get close enough to know if he had one too. The next morning, Jamie was in the living room wearing gold-rimmed glasses and reading the newspaper, dressed smartly. "We'll have guests today," he said without looking up. Later, Ernesto arrived with a woman named Olivia. I played my part, pretending to be surprised when Jamie introduced us. "This is my twin brother. He just got back from abroad." Ernesto shook my hand. "Pleasure to meet you." His expression was calm, his smile polite, but I knew too much to be fooled. Olivia chimed in, moving closer. "Raquel and I were college roommates. And guess what, I'll be your maid of honor." Before I could respond, the chef called us to lunch. Olivia sat between the twins and smiled at me. "Raquel, Jamie has been acting differently lately." I knew she wanted to embarrass me, so I smiled softly and said, "Yes, he has changed. He's become much kinder to me. I think I've fallen even more in love with him." The room fell silent. Both brothers stiffened. Jamie shot Ernesto a cold look. Then, trying to lighten the mood, Ernesto placed shrimp on my plate. "Honey, your favorite garlic shrimp, peeled." He froze, realizing what he had just said. "My brother calls you that all the time," he added quickly. I replied, "Ah, how thoughtful." Jamie's jaw tightened. I calmly ate the shrimp and excused myself. Moments later, I was in the bathroom holding back nausea. When I returned, Olivia gave me a knowing look. "Morning sickness, maybe?" I answered, "No, just a stomach upset." Later that night, Jamie and Ernesto left to drive Olivia home. They came back late. I wasn't sure which twin had returned. I saw the phone on the nightstand and checked the messages. Everything was there. "Jamie, I'll switch with you again in a few days." "No way, I'm not done having fun." "Have you been treating her well? Don't tell me you've fallen for her." "Of course not. You said the kinder I was, the harder she'd fall before we crushed her. Just don't touch her. That's the rule." So that night, it was Ernesto who was in the room with me. 10 minutes later, he came out of the shower and sat casually beside me. "You've got those long nails again." "My back still has marks." I replied without looking up, "Call the police." He chuckled, "Why are you so cute?" and leaned in to kiss me. I stopped him. "My stomach hurts." He frowned. "I see." He offered to massage it, but I moved his hand away. "I'm fine." Later that night, the pain worsened. I curled up in bed, shutting my eyes tightly. Eventually, Ernesto pulled me into his arms, gently stroking my back. "Honey, don't hurt anymore," he whispered softly, and for a moment, I thought there might be something real. But the next morning reminded me who he really was. I woke up to find him standing next to me, holding my phone. His expression was unreadable. "Why is the hospital sending you pre-procedure instructions?" My heart skipped a beat, but I stayed calm. "Probably just a pop-up ad. If I were really pregnant, I'd tell you." He narrowed his eyes. "You've been visiting those kinds of websites?" "Learning is good," I said firmly. He smiled. "Aren't the things I teach you enough?" Then he whispered, "In 4 days we'll be married. I'll make you the happiest bride in the world." I smiled, because in 4 days I would be on a plane, and they would be alone at a wedding I'd never attend. There would be no marriage. No future. Not for any of us. The day after the dinner, I pretended everything was fine. I smiled when needed, laughed when expected, and played the role of the perfect fiancé. But inside, I was counting the hours. For more days until the wedding. For more days until I would disappear from their lives forever. That morning, Ernesto brought me breakfast in bed. He sat beside me, carefully placing a tray with toast, orange juice, and scrambled eggs on my lap. "Honey, you need to eat well," he said softly. I nodded, forcing a smile. "Thank you." He watched me as I ate, his expression unreadable. I could see the wheels turning in his mind, trying to figure out if he believed the lie I had told him last night. The day after the dinner, I pretended everything was fine. Ernesto left the room after I finished breakfast. I waited a few minutes, then got up and threw it all up in the bathroom. The smell of scrambled eggs still clung to my nose. My head throbbed, and not just from the nausea. It was the pressure, the constant tension of living with two men who took turns deceiving me, as if my dignity were some kind of toy. I returned to bed and lay staring at the ceiling. They thought they had control. They thought I was just another conquest, a pastime for two spoiled rich boys who had never heard the word no in their lives. The clock read 11:45 when my phone buzzed. It was a message from my best friend, Clara, who lived in another state. She only knew part of the story. I had told her about my doubts, about the strange behavior, but I had never told her I was pregnant, nor that I had overheard the two of them plotting to emotionally destroy me. "Were you able to schedule the appointment? Do you need help with the ticket?" I replied, "It's all booked. I leave Saturday at 3 o'clock. I'll send you the flight details." Clara wrote for a bit, then sent me a heart emoji. There were now 3 days left. 3 long days, and I had to keep pretending. When I went down for lunch, Jamie was in the garden talking on the phone, impeccable as always, in a suit that looked tailor-made. Ernesto was sitting in the dining room, distracted, looking at something on his phone. When he saw me, he gave that half-smile, the same one he used when pretending to be his brother. "Did you sleep well, love?" he asked, as if nothing had happened. "Yes, thank you for breakfast," I replied softly. "You seemed tired last night. I hope you're feeling better." He was probing, trying to trip me up, but I wouldn't stumble. "Hormones, maybe. It's been an intense few days," I answered, naturally placing a hand on my stomach. He looked away for a second, then smiled. "Everything will be fine." Not for you, I thought. After lunch, I went to the guest room and checked the secret suitcase I had hidden at the back of the closet. Only the essentials, documents, test results, some cash, a new card with a different last name, simple clothes. My real things, I would leave behind, as part of the trophy they thought they had won. But I would take with me what truly mattered, my freedom and my child. In the afternoon, Jamie invited me for a walk in the garden. He was more affectionate than usual, offered me his arm like a gentleman, talked about the future, about the honeymoon. He even suggested names for our future children. "I like Isabella, if it's a girl," he said. I looked at him and smiled, feigning tenderness. "Isabella is beautiful." He didn't know the baby already had a name, that the room was already planned at Clara's house, that I didn't plan to ever speak his name again after Saturday. That night, Ernesto knocked on my bedroom door. Jamie had gone out to dinner with his father. I knew Ernesto would come. He always came when he thought he could play a little more. "Can I come in?" he asked, leaning on the doorframe with a glass of wine in hand. "Of course," I replied. He entered and sat in the armchair next to the bed. He offered me the glass, which I declined with a fake smile. "You didn't drink at dinner or at lunch today. You're taking care of yourself for the big day." I rolled my eyes inwardly. "I'm avoiding alcohol until the wedding. I want to be perfect." He nodded, watching my face. I felt his eyes scanning every detail, as if searching for a crack. "You're different, Raquel. Nervous bride, maybe? It's something else. You're more confident, like you know something we don't." My heart raced, but I kept my face calm. "Maybe it's love, Ernesto." He laughed. "We both know it's more complicated than that." "We both?" I asked. "Are you sure you're talking to the right person?" He didn't answer. He just looked at me for several seconds, then stood up. "Good night, Raquel. Dream of the future." "Always," I replied. I closed the door as soon as he left and took a deep breath. Only 3 days remained. But I already felt like time was suffocating me. I went back to bed and hugged the pillow. I didn't cry. I couldn't. Not for me, not for him, not for anyone. This would be the last time I allowed myself to be used. And even though I still shared the house with them for 3 more days, inside, I no longer belonged to them. I was already somewhere else, in another world. One where I would no longer be the mockery of two brothers. I would be the mother of a child who would never know his father. And honestly, that was the best gift I could give him. That night, I couldn't sleep. The clock read 3 in the morning, and I was still wide awake, listening to every creak of the house as if the slightest sound might give me away. I was paranoid, but how could I not be? I lived in a mansion that looked like something out of a movie, but which hid a horror script behind every corner. Every kind gesture was a mask, every smile a trap. My phone vibrated. It was a message from the hospital, confirming the time of the appointment for Friday morning, just one day before the wedding. I felt a lump in my throat. Seeing it in writing made it more real. I was going to leave everything behind. I was going to go. I was going to escape. I got up carefully, took a small flashlight from the drawer, and approached the secret suitcase to check the contents one last time. Everything was still there. I took a deep breath. I just had to hold on for 2 more days. The next day, when I went down for breakfast, I stumbled upon an unexpected scene. Ernesto was in the kitchen, but he wasn't alone. A young, dark-haired woman with a scowl was confronting him, arms crossed. "What are you doing here?" she asked the moment she saw me. Ernesto turned to me, visibly uncomfortable. "Raquel, this is Juliana, an old friend." Juliana let out a dry laugh. "Friend? Is that what you call someone you shared a bed with while pretending to be your brother?" My stomach twisted. It felt like all the air had been sucked from the room. "What?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Juliana looked at me with pity, not anger. "You didn't know. What an idiot. I thought you were part of the game too. Or has Ernesto already done it, or was it Jamie this time?" I tried to stay strong, but my legs were shaky. Ernesto stepped forward angrily. "That's enough, Juliana. Leave." She ignored him. "I've been following them, Raquel. Not just him, both of them. You're not the first. You're not special. They have a pattern. They take turns. They get bored. Then they leave you like nothing happened." My hands trembled. "And why are you here?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "Because I was you 3 years ago," she said, looking me straight in the eyes. "And I never apologized for not warning the next one." Juliana left without looking back. Ernesto was silent, staring at me, as if waiting for a reaction. But I gave none. I simply walked to the dining room as if I hadn't heard a thing. I sat at the table, took a cup of tea, and sipped it. My hands were trembling, but I refused to fall apart in front of him. "Are you going to say something?" Ernesto asked, approaching slowly. "Thank you for the tea yesterday." "It was perfect," I replied, ignoring everything else. He frowned. "Raquel, I have to get ready. I have a dress fitting today." I left him there, stunned, unable to control anything. That was my small victory. The calmer I became, the more power I felt. They thrived on chaos. From now on, I would give them nothing. At the dressmaker's studio, as they adjusted the white dress as if I were truly going to get married, I looked at my reflection in the mirror. The woman who looked back at me was not the same as a week ago. She was no longer an excited bride. She was a woman pretending to survive. And she was doing a good job. "You look radiant," the dressmaker said excitedly. "Thank you," I replied with a smile that was hard to maintain. I returned home in the late afternoon. Jamie was waiting for me at the entrance with a bouquet of red roses. He had never given me flowers before. It was as if he somehow sensed that control was slipping away. "For you, my future wife," he said, kissing my forehead. "They're beautiful," I replied, taking the bouquet. "Can we talk for a moment?" I nodded. We walked to the balcony on the 2nd floor. The view was beautiful, but it no longer impressed me. "Are you happy?" he asked suddenly. I didn't answer immediately. "I'm at peace." He watched me closely. "I want you to know that I'm committed to you, that this is real for me." I almost burst out laughing. "I know, Jamie. I trust you." One more lie. It was necessary. He hugged me around the waist. His breath against my neck gave me chills. "In 2 days, you will be completely mine." "Yes," I said, my voice barely audible. 2 days. Just 2 more days. That night, when I returned to my room, I found an envelope under the door. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a sheet of paper with only 2 sentences. I know what you're doing. You're not leaving. Not this time. My heart nearly stopped. Ernesto or Jamie, or both, had discovered something, or they were testing my reaction. But it didn't matter, because there was no turning back now. I slept with my hand clenched around my phone, as if that could protect me. Every shadow in that house seemed to watch me, waiting for my next move. That note under the door was no longer just a game. It was a warning, or worse, a threat. In the morning, the note was still where I had left it, on the nightstand. No one mentioned it during breakfast. Jamie watched me too closely, as if waiting for me to say something. Ernesto didn't come down. The tension was so thick I could barely swallow. I sat, calmly spread jam on a piece of toast, and forced a smile. Did you sleep well? Jamie asked in a casually forced tone. Very well, I replied. I was exhausted. He nodded slowly, as if trying to find some crack in my expression, but he wouldn't find one. Around noon, Clara sent me a voice message. Raquel, something's wrong. I called the clinic and they told me someone tried to cancel your appointment. I felt the air leave my lungs. I replied immediately, don't let them cancel. I'm going. Do you think they found out? No doubt. Do you want me to buy you a flight for tomorrow morning? We'll move everything up. I glanced around. Jamie was talking to a gardener through the window. Ernesto was still nowhere to be seen. Yes. Get me out of here tomorrow. I deleted the chat history as soon as I sent the message. From that moment on, every move had to be calculated. In the afternoon, I prepared the second part of the plan. I took out the envelope of money hidden in the false fireplace in the guest room and switched suitcases. The original one, the one they could have tampered with, I left out in plain sight near the door. The new, smaller one stayed with me, hidden. I would take only the essentials. That night during dinner, I sat next to Jamie. I smiled, toasted with him, even rested my head on his shoulder, like the happy fiancé they expected to see. Across the table, Ernesto finally appeared, face hardened, lips pressed tightly. He barely touched his food. Olivia was there too, asking questions about the wedding, the honeymoon, all with that fake sweetness that irritated me so much. Have you decided on a honeymoon destination? She asked cheerfully. I think we'll go to the Maldives, I replied with a calm smile. Or maybe somewhere colder. Lately I've been feeling very warm. I saw Ernesto lower his gaze and Jamie clench his jaw. Another point for me. After dinner, Ernesto intercepted me near the stairs. He grabbed my arm, not violently, but firmly. Can we talk? He whispered. Not now. I'm tired, I replied. That wasn't a question, Raquel. His gaze was different, not anger, but fear. He knew, or suspected, too much. He took me to his father's study, locked the door, and stared at me as if trying to pierce through me. Who else knows? He asked. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. About the escape. About the baby. About the appointment. My heart was pounding, but my voice came out steady. I have no idea what you're saying. He stepped closer, cornering me against the wall. His breath reeked of wine. I read the messages. You're lying. You're betraying us. You plan to leave Jamie at the altar. Is that it? I remained silent. You think you can play with us, he said, almost in a furious whisper. We started this game. We decide when it ends. No, I finally said. You started it. But I'm going to finish it. He was silent for a few seconds, then let out a bitter laugh. You won't make it. You're not leaving. Jamie will find you. He always does. Maybe, I answered. But the child I'm carrying will never know who you are. And that's the only thing that matters to me. For the first time, Ernesto was speechless. He looked at me, confused, almost defeated, then left the study without another word. I walked to my room with a firm step, locked the door, and leaned against it. My body was trembling, but I knew I couldn't fall apart now. I took out paper and pen and wrote a letter, not for them, but to leave a message for my 2 fiancés. Thank you for teaching me what love is not. I will never forget every lie you forced me to swallow with a smile. I hope the image of the woman you tried to break will haunt you forever. Good luck explaining this to your guests. Raquel. I signed it with my full name and left it clearly visible on the nightstand. The next morning, I would leave, or die trying. I woke up before dawn, my heart hammering in my chest. The sky was still dark, but I was already fully dressed, ready to leave without making a sound. I wore old jeans, a loose t-shirt, and my hair tucked into a cap. It wasn't the image of a bride on her big day. It was the image of a woman escaping. I took the small suitcase and checked one last time that I had everything: false ID, money, clean phone, ultrasound results folded into the inner pocket. Clara was waiting for me at the terminal 3 hours away by car. The plan was simple: leave before the house woke up, take a taxi to town, and from there a bus straight to the airport. If all went well, by noon I would be flying far away from them forever. I slid the bedroom door open carefully. The hallway was dark, silent. I went down the stairs, my heart in my throat. Every creak of the wood felt like a gunshot. When I reached the foyer, I felt a tingle on the back of my neck. I looked toward the front door. Ernesto stood in the shadows, holding a cup of coffee. "I knew you'd try today," he said without raising his voice. I stopped, gripping the suitcase handle tightly. I didn't back down. "And what are you going to do? Scream? Wake everyone up?" He approached slowly. There was something different about him, not arrogance, not fury. He seemed hurt. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, looking at me with a strange mix of sadness and contained rage. "Why didn't you tell me it was mine?" "What?" I replied, confused. "The baby. I knew from the moment I saw the results. It's mine, not Jamie's. I was with you that night. You know it." I stayed silent. The lump in my throat wouldn't let me speak. Because yes, I knew. And so did he. But that didn't change anything. "It doesn't change what you did," I finally said. "It doesn't change what you planned, or the times you humiliated me, or the way you played with me as if I were a doll. But I didn't want to hurt you," he insisted. "At first it was just a game, but then what, Ernesto?" I shot back, lowering my voice with fury. "You fell in love with the woman you were sharing with your brother? That's your grand love story?" He didn't answer. He just looked down. The silence between us was heavy, unbearable. "You're not going to stop me," I said firmly. "I can't," he whispered. "Then step aside." And he did. I walked past him, feeling his gaze burning my back. I crossed the door and felt the fresh dawn air on my face. That first step out of that house felt like being born again. I walked to the gate. The taxi was waiting for me, just as I had planned. I got in without looking back. When I reached the town, Clara was already waiting. She got out of the car and hugged me without saying a word. My hands were trembling, but I didn't cry. "You're safe now," she said. And in that moment, for the first time in weeks, I believed those words. We got in the car and began the drive. On the way, Clara told me she had prepared everything: a small apartment in another city, a new job at a little cafe, medical appointments already scheduled. A new beginning. "And the wedding, what do you think happened when they saw you weren't there?" she asked while driving. I smiled bitterly. I suppose they read the letter, and then probably started destroying each other. Halfway there, I received the first message from Jamie. "Where are you? This isn't a joke. People are arriving. Raquel, are you okay?" Then one from Ernesto. "No, please. Just tell me if the baby is okay. I won't stop you. I just want to know if you're okay." I didn't reply to either of them. They didn't deserve it. When I arrived at the airport, I went through security and sat in the boarding lounge. I looked at my reflection in the glass screen in front of me. My face was pale but calm. For the first time in a long time, I felt in control. The plane took off with the sun already high. From the window, I watched the city fade into the distance, along with the twins, the wedding, the lies, the humiliation. I was no longer theirs. No longer anyone's. I was free. It's been 3 months since that plane took off that morning. 3 months of silence. Of rebuilding. Of understanding that the life I had dreamed of never existed. That the love I thought I had was a cruel illusion, a strategy crafted by two soulless men. Today, I live in a small apartment overlooking a quiet street. There are no luxuries, no butlers, no dinners served by French chefs. But there is peace. And that's worth more than any jewel Jamie ever wanted to give me. I work in a cafe. I serve coffee, wipe tables, smile at strangers. Many would never imagine that beneath this apron is a woman who was once a fiancée in a magazine-worthy wedding, a woman who once believed in the word forever, spoken by two identical mouths, equally false. Clara offered for me to stay with her, but I insisted on having my own space. I needed to build something of my own from scratch. Because even though they took everything from me, they didn't take my ability to start over. My belly is already beginning to show. At the cafe, some regular customers have noticed, but they don't ask questions. I appreciate that silence more than anything. I don't want to explain. I don't want to relive. I just want to move forward. The baby is healthy. It's a girl. I found out 2 weeks ago during an ultrasound where, for the first time, I cried, not from sadness, but from relief, from quiet joy. She was real. She was growing inside me. And she had nothing to do with the twins. She was mine. Only mine. I will name her Isabella, not because Jamie suggested it, but because I want that name to have a new meaning. Because when I look at her and say, Isabella, I won't think of empty promises or engagement rings. I will think of strength. Of rebirth. This week, I received a letter with no return address. The handwriting was unmistakable, Ernesto. Raquel, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect a response. I just wanted to say that I tried to stop Jamie, but I wasn't brave enough. I don't deserve to be that child's father. I know that. Just, thank you for taking her away. Ernesto. I didn't cry. I didn't reply. I don't plan to. A part of me wanted to believe he was different, that between the two of them, he had some heart. But actions aren't erased by words. He participated. He mocked me. He manipulated me. That his conscience weighs on him now doesn't change what I was forced to endure. Jamie wrote too, or tried. He called several times. Sent flowers to the cafe. Even showed up one afternoon, waiting for me on the corner. I didn't go out. I hid in the storage room with my heart in my throat, watching him through the small window between the boxes. He looked thinner, paler, but he was still him. And that was enough to know I should never go near him again. Clara confronted him. Told him to leave me alone. That he wasn't welcome. He hasn't returned. Since then, I haven't received more messages, or visits, or letters. The past stayed where it belonged, behind me. Now I spend the afternoons setting up Isabella's room. With clothes I buy secondhand. With a crib a neighbor gave me. With love. A lot of love. Because I'm not going to repeat the story. I won't raise my daughter surrounded by lies and masks. One day, she will know the truth. But she will also know that her mother chose courage. Chose to leave. Chose to live. And that will be enough. Maybe I'll never marry. Maybe I'll never fully trust anyone again. But that's okay. Because I've learned there is a stronger, purer form of love. And it grows inside my chest every time I hear her heart beating. I am free. I am alive. And for the first time in a long time, I am happy. The end.